So I work at Intel. Have you heard of Intel? What do we do?
Ooh.
Make chips.
Chips.
Therein lies the problem. Do you know that we have more software engineers than Microsoft? Do you know that we're in 90% of any elevator you will ride? That we're in most of the amusement park rides? The interesting thing about Intel is we are broader and deeper than anyone can imagine, but we are the world's best kept secret. We're the number 7 brand in the world, still the world's best kept secret. So I say that, I start there because I'm responsible for the Americas, primarily the US, but I look over the border to Canada and to South America, creating consumer campaigns. How do you connect with your audience? How do you become your audience? How do you focus on the benefit of the product, not the feature of the product? How do you engage? And we tend to rotate our audience focus from year to year. So it remains to be very interesting and very valuable to keep that pulse on the market, because today you're talking to this age group and next year you're talking to this age group, or vice versa. So my responsibility is to understand our focus audience, understand what our products do, understand how to communicate that in a way that makes you want to run out and buy one. And not because we just want you to buy one. We honestly think that technology makes our lives better, and better as defined by you, whether that's more efficient, it's better than a number 2 pencil, or whether that's a part of your job, you need this technology to design. But that's my role.
I had gone to summer camp my whole life as a kid, and they used to bring sports celebrities into camp to do everything from Steffi Graf doing tennis with us, Wilt Chamberlain playing basketball. And I said, what if I took that concept and brought newly developed artists that were in the artist development mode into summer camps, where there is this captive audience of kids that, with all due respect, are legally held hostage at camp. They can't leave. And unlike a mall tour, which could be a very good thing for an artist, you're free to go. You can go and shop. I mean, if I saw a nice dress in a place, I'd leave the artist and go and shop. So I thought this is a perfect environment if that's your demographic. So I developed a relationship with summer camps and went around to the record labels, told them what I had going on. They signed artists onto this. And then very quickly I realized what we're doing with these artists that are reaching this demographic of kids would apply to brands. And so we started bringing brand sponsors, everybody from like Juicy Juice Nestle to Cartoon Network, Epiphone guitars, kind of creating brand loyalty with a guitar for a kid at a very young age. So that's been the premise. I've been doing it 11 years. I'm still got a tour coming up this summer. And it's exciting. It's an interesting kind of business and a great way to hit a target audience in ways that really don't exist out there. So.
And you create a really, really loyal audience that way. I mean, everyone in this room has been to summer camp. The music that you hear then at that age when you're like kind of bonding with other kids, it kind of becomes that soundtrack of your youth, and you end up becoming really, really loyal to those artists. So that's super interesting.
I had a friend over at ICM who I went to and I pitched the idea to. I said, listen, this is going to be huge. They have all these views, they have these subscribers. I mean, like, we can't lose. This is huge. And he goes, all right, I'll rock with you on this. Let's go. Let's try it. And we had to bang down doors because the talent buyers in Kansas and across the country in these markets were like, well, you usually call us about Beyonce and you usually call us about Usher, and I don't know who the hell this person is. And he stood with me, but we had to fight. And so many people said these views will not translate to ticket sales, and they will not translate to all these other, actual tangible things. And I said, I promise you. And I was out there shouting my brains out. And this year, we just completed our second run. We had to turn venues away. So the proof is in the pudding. I mean, we had 2 successful years under our belt. We're expanding the brand into comedy, Digitour comedy. But really, the music is where my passion and heart is. And these views are real. I mean, some people were like, you know what, 235 million views one of our artists had. Oh, it's just a fluke. But we proved that it wasn't. Right. So it was challenging, but I think it was more challenging proving to industry people that these artists could perform a tour and bring out an audience and draw a crowd, opposed to actually putting on the tour. I mean, that was the easy part.
This year, looking at 18 to 24, is how, not unlike what Aimee said, how do you connect with an audience and bring them up alongside your brand? The other age groups above 24, especially in the 30s, know our brand fairly well, and the older you get, really the more they know us. So we want to reach back and get
And the more
connected.
jaded we get, you know.
Yeah, right before the coffin, they know us well. So for us to reach into this 18 to 24, how do we connect with a new audience that cares about technology? There's not well, I shouldn't say that, that's grandiose. There are very few in that age group that don't have multiple pieces of technology. They have a phone, and a lot would argue they do everything with their phone. I would continue to argue they don't. It's not a keyboard, it's not a computer, it's a handy device, it's a camera, it's almost everything to them, but not a computer. And this same audience then has a computer in their home because they know the difference between what a laptop or a desktop can do and that handheld. They're not afraid of anything. They know remotes. They don't know how to roll up a window in a car. You know, they were brought up in this age group where everything was technology, and they will try anything, right? I mean, how many? Some of you are probably in that age range, but if you're not, think about what frightens you, right? There's a time where you're like, ooh, loading that software. That's an interesting question. You know what? I'm gonna have somebody else do this for me. Whereas this younger market, they're just like banging on keys, and if it blows up, well, they'll just get another one. That bulletproof. So now, that said, how do we connect with players or celebrities or performers or brands? What makes sense to our brand? And sometimes it's a really nice parallel alignment, and other times it's this or this. It can all work. You just have to find that message. You know, when might Intel play with Ford versus when will Intel play with Microsoft versus when will Intel play with Adidas? It's all possible. It's who's your audience, what do you want to talk about, what do you each want to talk about, and what are those connection points where it makes sense?
No, that's
It has to be sensitive to our brand.
There was a YouTube drum sensation named Ricky Ficarelli, and he was on the Digitour the first year, and we signed him, and Ryan Seacrest was blogging about him. I mean, everyone was starting to like look at his drum covers and say, this kid's got something. And when my partner found him and was like, we have to sign him, and I didn't get it. I go, he's a drummer, what are we gonna do? And he goes, trust me. And I'm glad I did, because he was right on with this one. And so what we did was we built a group around him. It was like we did a YouTube search through our YouTube network so that this YouTube band with this drummer superstar could be a headliner on the second Digitour. And so the fan engagement, we really empowered the fans to a level where these fans are just insane. Like, they are trending on Twitter 4 times a day.
wow.
If a company were to buy that, it would be $120,000 per promoted tweet. So the value in their social media muscle is insane. So we put this group together. They're 2 months old. We were just showcasing for the head of Sony yesterday. And not to say that we even want to do a record deal, but the kind of record deal we could do if we wanted to now would be very, very different from something if we didn't have that sort of leverage, because this group can stand on its own. They headlined a tour that is under my company that we own. We can continue to put them out on the road. They're probably doing another 40-city tour this fall. And, you know, they interact with their fans. They have these fans who have already named themselves. We put out their single. Within 2 days, it had 500,000 views. I was talking to someone out doing an interview outside before, and one of the questions was, what's more important, like views or single sales, or, you know, what do you think is important about, you know, how would you price a single sale? And we were just talking about buying music. I said, I don't even think that's a question that's that important anymore, because I don't really look at that as a source of revenue that matters to me. And maybe we're still a ways away from really truly embracing a subscription service system, or having ad-based revenue and brand integration truly support the content to the extent that we don't really care. The music you're almost giving away for free. But that's what we did in this case of this band, and we're seeing these girls will buy t-shirts, they will buy tickets, they will buy VIP tickets to meet and greet them for $90. So do we care that they're not buying the 99-cent single? I'll give them that. And they can get the meet and greet for $90. I mean, you do the math. It's just it's a new business model, and I think that really, truly using the metrics, the information, the data that we're collecting from these YouTube stars that we're representing is allowing us to create new sources of revenue that is, supporting what we're doing in a very new landscape.
But to be able to create the merchandise, the this, that, I don't need a record label. And our company has a record label that I could put this through in 2 minutes. And I'm just like, well, why? Why would I give some of this money away to the other side? Because it's like a joint venture with a major. I'm like, why would I do that? I don't even care about the record sales, as you've just said. It's all the other money that can be made, the brand partners, the people that want to come in and benefit from this vehicle that we have. So it's the same type of thinking, just a little bit of a different, concept.
Can I add on from
Yeah,
the
of
point
course.
view? I think what's so great, what these guys are doing, is the interactivity. From a technology brand, for me, it's all about engagement and user-generated content. And I'll tell you my thinking. Is it used to be a phone was mounted on a wall. You had to go to the phone. Then, blessed be us, we actually had a phone we could move from the counter of the kitchen to a little desk or to the dining room table. Then we moved to a portable phone. Looked like a loaf of bread, but it was a mobile phone. And now fast forward to where we are today, and what's changed with this youth audience is they don't want to talk anymore. It's not a phone call. It's not even a text. Now they're on this beautiful hike and they take a picture. Heaven forbid they call their friends and say, this is an amazing hike.
And tweet
Or
about it.
text their friends and say, this is an amazing hike. All they do is take a picture and send it. And their friends go, dude, that's an amazing hike, right? I don't think they know how to talk to each other anymore. So I think it's all of our jobs to find cool ways to connect this audience to each other and to our brand and continue. The computer isn't go sit by yourself. It's what can you do to invent and create. And we have a pretty sexy product out right now that we think is going to connect to this audience. It's going to be something they want to hold on to and use, and it happens to be under 2 pounds, and the battery lasts for 6 to 8 hours. So how can we, and again, I'm not hawking because that's not my job, but as a brand, I think it's all of us have this requirement to go out and make, for this new generation, make their life better and make it more interesting. And I'm afraid that they view life better as I just had a day and I didn't talk to a single person. How do we get them talking, right? How do we get them integrated into, oh God, this is going to sound terrible. How do we get them integrated into the world? This is the audience that we're handing our jobs off to. This is the audience that's responsible for the next banking
They're all
crisis. And if we don't
sociopaths.
teach them how to do it, they're not going to know. Just kidding. Anyway.